What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. The boys are in person on the casting couch here, getting ready to talk to you about the Mets vs. Cardinals series, which was cut short due to a postponement that will be played, August 5th? In between the worst series ever.
August 5th is going to happen in the middle of a Mets road trip where they're going between Anaheim and Denver. They're stopping for one day in St. Louis to play. And
it's funny because you say in between because it's not in between.
Not in between. St. Louis is underratedly not that far from Denver, but it just means that the Mets are going to now have 10 games that week and a half in 10 days in 3 different time zones.
Yeah, it's a lot. But good news is the Mets won the first 2 games of the series.
Sweep. Mets swept the Cardinals.
Mets swept the Cardinals. That's the title. That's the thumbnail. That's everything. But things have been looking weird for the Mets, but things are looking better, especially on the offensive side of things. We talked in the last episode about the Pete Alonso struggles. We saw he got that home run in Game 2. Brandon Nimmo is just so damn good. And the pitching, while starting pitching necessarily hasn't been as rock solid, the bullpen's still kind of keeping it together as much as they can.
I think the Mets team that we saw in these few games in St. Louis, and again, we shouldn't really use these games in St. Louis to create a thing because this team objectively sucks. They're built poorly. Also, shout out Wilson Contreras. Horrible injury, and that was their best player. They're going to lose now. J.D. Martinez hitting him on his swing, and there's been a lot of weird discourse about it. That catcher's being nudged up to frame better, and then J.D. Martinez breaks his arm. It's sad, but I feel like this iteration of the Mets team where they're hitting well, buoyed by the top of the order. The pitching is fine, and then the bullpen kind of pulls it all together. That's more of the version of the team I thought we'd see from the beginning of the season. Now that we're basically a quarter of the way through, it's funny. Maybe that is now the team that actually winds up rising to the top.
It's also so funny that when this team pitches well, they don't hit. And when they give up runs, that's the night that when they hit. So it's like if we can get those things to line up, that's where we can kind of run off like we did for a little bit at the beginning of the season.
Shout out Mets Twitter member. I think her name is Diana, but I don't remember what her ad is. But that's, I think, her little name on Twitter. She's funny as hell. Great follow. But she made this little video about the Mets and all these lover bars, bullpen hitting, then the pitching goes away.
Yeah.
Then the bullpen goes up, then the hitting goes away. You can never get all 3 together. That's what this Mets team feels like. But they still keep finding ways to win these games and keep finding ways to hang around 500, which, again, playing without their best pitcher and then playing where they haven't really had all 3 of their good hitters. I'm not going to say all 3 of their best hitters because that's too obvious. I'm going to say good hitters because really those are their only 3 good hitters. They're all 3 of their good hitters not even yet being hot at the same time. It's not that bad. Could be worse.
Yeah. We'll dive into Game 1 here in a second. Just to remind you guys, we've got a prospect report coming for you in today's episode, as well as a special guest coming on for our series preview with the Atlanta Braves coming up, Foolish Baseball. So make sure you listen through and watch through on YouTube, wherever you're taking in this content as much as you can. But now it's time to get going into these games. So let's get going into it. So Game 1, Sean Manaea on the bump going up against Miles Mikolas, and it was just the casual. No?
Mixed 2 games together.
Mixed them together. Who did he go up against?
Kyle Gibson.
It was Kyle Gibson. Joey Wendell, Knicks basketball, softball,
yes.
Willie Mays. I'm Willie Mays. Brandon Nimmo looked great in this one. He loves hitting in St. Louis. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I specifically remember that TJ McFarland home run as well, coming after the break, first pitch jumping all over it, hit a home run. He loves playing there, maybe because it's close to Wyoming, is it?
I guess relative. I mean, it's close-ish to Wyoming. I think Denver is the closest to Wyoming, but St. Louis might sneaky be the second closest stadium in Major League Baseball to Wyoming. But this was an amazing series for Brandon Nimmo in the power department, and the power department is where I want to focus for Nimmo because that's always been the push and pull in Brandon Nimmo's game, turning him from a good player to a great player to an amazing player to now the perennial. And we're going to say this because the stats are bearing this out. The perennial star he's become over the last few years. It's hard to wrap our minds around it because I think we watch him every day and we take him for granted as Bayern takes the lead in the 67th minute. Wow.
Let's go, Bayern.
Wow.
All
big
German
right
final,
there.
hopefully.
But Brandon was doing something special right now he's really never done in his career, which is marrying his patience, his discipline, and his power all together at the same time.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of spaced out for a second when you said marrying his patients. I thought you meant he's marrying patients, people that he's taking care of. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, just an ordained minister. He's marrying people who wear patients at the same clinic. But right now, Brandon Nimmo, what he's doing with his walks right now, he's walking at one of the highest rates in the entire league. Power, he's near the top of the league in barrels. You have the barrel stat for us, right?
Yes, I got it. So Baseball Savant, obviously you have all the percentile ranks. In terms of barrel percentage, he is 90th percentile, which I believe puts him inside the top 15, guaranteed top 20 most barrels in Major League Baseball. That's disgusting. That's in the conversation with Juan Soto. That's better than Aaron Judge this year. That's in the conversation with the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball.
Ryan Jeffers,
Brandon Nimmo is right there right now. Baseball Savant also has a great stat called batting run value. You can think of it as kind of their war in a way. They're able to kind of mush everything together that they think is valuable, what they think makes a good player.
And that takes in the balls that you hit, but also the pitches that you're swinging at and also the pitches that you're taking.
Yeah, and he, in his batting run value, has 14, which is 96th percentile, which means he's basically in the top 5, top 10 in Major League Baseball in terms of being able to create run values at the plate for a guy who's hitting 229, which again, for all of you out there, and I'm gonna look at you, Joe from Staten Island, batting average does not matter. Yes, I would love Brandon Nimmo to hit 250 because then these numbers would be even better. But batting average is not indicative of success.
Yeah, and it's also pretty remarkable that Brandon Nimmo started the year 3 for 38 at the plate over the Mets' first 3 series, the Cincinnati, the Tigers, and the Brewers. And since those 3 series happened, that first game after those series was the Braves game where he went ballistic, apeshit, hit the 2 home runs, basically won the game by himself. Since then, and after these 2 games in St. Louis, I still have some more stats for it, but definitely just trying to talk about the overarching Nimmo right now. Brandon Nimmo's triple slash is 265, 395, 490. That's a 160 WRC plus, 60% better than league average, with 5 homers, 22 RBIs, a 15% walk rate, and 19% strikeout rate. All that together, that's the slash line of literally, we're not trying to like glaze Nimmo too much, but we also are.
But I will.
Those are the stat lines of someone who could be a top 5 MVP candidate.
Yeah.
And like I'm not trying to overdo this. I'm not trying to over exaggerate.
And he's not a top 5 MVP candidate right now.
No.
But the idea is that if you take that over an entire season, you're looking at what?
You're looking at a top 5 MVP candidate. And that's not like a small sample size. We do like to go with the sample size in this. We love a nice arbitrary start date.
Love it.
Myself especially.
God, nothing more.
That's 125 plate appearances. That's genuinely 20% of a season that you're playing basically every single game. And Brandon Nimmo's doing things that only the best hitters in baseball do.
So it'd be like 25 homers, 110 RBIs with a 160 WRC plus, and I mean, getting on base at a 40% clip.
Yeah,
pretty damn good.
It's like a Juan Soto type season.
Yeah.
With a couple less home runs.
Juan Soto, San Diego.
Juan Soto, San Diego season, yeah. But the other thing about Nimmo that's really important is that he's improving dramatically. And we've kind of hinted at this, and we've talked about we thought this was going to happen the last few years because he's still relatively baseball young. You guys know he grew up in Wyoming. You guys know he didn't play much youth baseball, didn't play much high school baseball either, and then got to the minor leagues and kind of learned how to play baseball once he was already a professional, which goes to about it's a testament to the player he is, quality-wise, and just the physical beast that he is. Monday was the first time in his entire career he had 2 batted balls in one game that were hit harder than 110. First time he's ever done that. And that's where I'm talking about marrying the power and the patience for Nimmo. Because he's always had the patience. Last year he had the power. With the power, the patience went away. But right now the fact he's doing both, he's hitting the ball harder than he's ever done. He's lifting the ball more than he ever had. And the home run he hit, the game-winning home run jump around on Tuesday, was the 5th furthest home run he's ever hit in his career. 3 of those 5 home runs have come since last summer, May of 2023, in the last 12 months.
And this all comes with Nimmo still being able to get on base, because that was something people were worried about, was that if he was going to hit for power, maybe he's not going to be as patient, as selective, be able to get on base as much. 15% walk rate, which I believe is the second highest of his entire career right now if this season ends today. And his walk rate is down to 19.8%, which is, strikeout rate, my bad. Strikeout rate is down to 19.8%, which is the 3rd lowest of his career. He was a guy when he came up who was striking out 25, 26, 27% of the time, and now he's under 20% while still walking, hitting the ball with authority, getting on base like he always has. This dude, we've been saying it forever, but now we can say it on the podcast too, he genuinely has the ability to be one of the best Mets players ever.
No, literally. There's a trajectory right now where Brandon Nimmo has his number retired into the field.
Definitely.
We're going on almost 1,000 straight games for Nimmo where he has a 130 WRC plus. It's not 1,000. It's like 700 because he missed some games with injuries. But it's just it's an 800 game career so far for Nimmo, and he's been 30% better than league average as a baseball player.
Wait, but James, he hits 229.
Doesn't also what's his career average? 268.
Yeah, but
that's awesome.
He's hitting 229 this year. It's a bad year.
Brandon Nimmo, his career slash line is 268, 380, 445, 30% better than league average. He's fucking amazing. He's so good. And I think the fact that now he's moved into a corner outfield spot, it's almost an opportunity for him to just lean into these skills that are turning him into this great hitter, which is power, patience. It looks like he's getting bigger too. It looks like the weight's going on Nimmo as well. And
getting moved into the corner.
Just everything is going so well for him right now.
All the things that we would hope would happen with him going from center field to left field is happening, and it's great.
And he still plays center field sometimes. He still plays it well.
Yeah, and the thing, too, again, just to go back to the batting average conversation, remember, on base, 377, What is the difference between a walk and a single, besides if there's a man on base and driving him in? That is the only opportunity for a guy at the top of the order. That's not really the biggest concern by any means for Brandon Nimmo to be this RBI machine, even though he kind of has been this season. But Brandon Nimmo is getting on base 37.7% of the time. And that's when he's hitting 230.
Yeah.
Disgusting. That's
crazy.
Insane.
And something else we love to talk about, not we love to talk about, people love to talk about, it's just a clutch factor. Nimmo, both games in this series, hit monster home runs. Right after Sean Manaea's third time through the order blew the lead in a rough 6th inning in St. Louis, Nimmo comes up. I don't know if it was next batter, but it was next inning. Bang, home run. The Mets can't hit Miles Michaelis. It's going on and on. 2 straight starts.
Fucking Lizard King.
We had like 12 innings against Miles Michaelis. We couldn't hit the Lizard King. Reminder, he ate a lizard when he played in the Arizona Fall League. We mentioned it a few weeks ago. Ate a living lizard. Poured some Sprite on it. Ate the living lizard. Psychotic human being. Brandon Nimmo jumps on him for the home run that starts a rally that winds up being in the middle of it was 2 hits. Then Nimmo wound up getting 7 consecutive hits of the inning with Chase Michaelis, and we wound up going on to win that game. And again, sweeping the Cardinals. So he's right place, right time. He's doing it all right now. He's improving every single game, it feels like, and it's just. Right, it's weird to say it's about a 31-year-old, but the sky is literally the limit for Brandon Nimmo.
Yeah, he's just becoming a really good player in front of our eyes. Has been.
Always been.
Me and you have been hip. We've been hip for a while. I know you Mets'd up listeners as well. The ones who have been here for a minute. You guys know as well. You're a part of the Brandon Nimmo hype train. But for the new ones that are in here from YouTube or wherever it is, Brandon Nimmo's him. Don't worry about the batting average because everything else is disgusting, and he's hitting 229 and he's still doing all this.
800 career games with 3 of the on-base percentage.
Disgusting.
It's amazing.
Disgusting.
Homegrown, baby.
Homegrown.
Shout out the Mets.
That's how you do it. Shout out. Who drafted Brandon Nimmo?
It had to be Sandy Alderson, right?
Would it be Sandy?
2010?
That'd be one of his first?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Okay. I think he was drafted before Matt Harvey.
Yeah. Ooh,
yeah.
Let me check that. That
right?
feels... Oh.
I think they're about the same age.
Matt Harvey was drafted
2012.
in 2010.
Oh, 2010.
So then Nimmo was
2011.
2011.
Okay, yeah, 1 year off.
Yeah, so that would be Sandy.
Okay, yeah. So Sandy. Shout out Sandy Alderson.
Shout out Sandy, helping us out here. Manaea on the mound in this one in the first game, completely fine.
Yeah,
this
totally.
This is Sean Manaea. He was cruising through the first 5, I believe, right? And then once he got to the 6th, which was the third time through the order, they just got to him. Probably should have had someone up earlier, but I know we spoke about this at softball in between watching the Knicks playing a softball game and checking in on the Mets. Just the fact that the Mets probably just need Sean Manaea to go 6, and you kind of got to push him every once in a while to hopefully get there. Because if you did, huge for the game.
Yeah.
Completely changes the outlook, but he couldn't get done.
But he still did kind of, like, he still left the game in the 6th inning, allowing 3 earned runs in a tie game where it sucks that you're already winning 3-0 and you blew that, but just in terms of a general start,
fine start.
Not that bad. Like, it's a quality start technically, but there's something weird happening with Manaea that it's been a conversation with some pitching people I speak with on Twitter. Just shout out a couple guys I've been talking to a lot more. TJ Stats, my guy Jack Bennett, and Mikey MJD Analysis. Just a lot of conversations in the baseball world happening right now. I feel like there's so much data out there. There's so many more people who are like super involved in the game, like this granular shit that's super fun to talk about. But Manaea in this game, as was registered on Baseball Savant, went totally away from his 4-seamer, went totally into 2-seamer sinker.
Okay.
And
interesting.
Again, but I also don't, every single website I've looked on for Sean Manaea, whether it's been Baseball Savant, Brooks Baseball, or Alex Chamberlain's pitch leaderboard, which I've shouted out before, they all have different readings on how many of each pitch he's thrown, with a lot of flipping. And the pitches are, and I went back and watched every sinker that Manaea threw in this game. And I think some of them work. Some of them just had that fading movement. But some of them weren't. Some of them kept going with his arm into the right-handed batter. So I think it just might be a Baseball Savant pitch tracking thing.
That'd be a cutter.
No, if it's a 4-seamer, the way Manaea throws sidearm, that 4-seamer goes into the batters.
No,
yeah, because that's the thing with Manaea.
that would be a cutter. I'm telling you.
No, but look at Manaea's cutter. There's another thing, because Manaea's cutter drops a lot. I have notes about that, too. Manaea's cutter acts sliderish. Maybe that is a cutter. Maybe everything's being misread. But Manaea, the whole thing is fastballs that had a ridiculous amount of horizontal movement. And the sinker does, too, but it's a little bit less. I don't know. I see pitches that are registered as the same thing in the stars, but they're moving in different directions. So I think it's just a pitch tracking issue. But whatever pitch it was, he was jamming a lineup that was, I think, only right-handed batters for the Cardinals in this one. He limited the hard contact. And you talked about the cutter. The cutter's an interesting pitch. This is the most he threw a cutter in any start so far this year. And I also found it interesting. He threw it 20 times in total, highest percentage throw in any start. He threw 5 of those 20 all in that little 6th inning rally for the Cardinals. So a pitch that he was leaning on late in the game, third time through the order when things got hairy. So I think definitely is a pitch to watch for him. It's kind of in between his fastballs and his sweeper because it drops some and it still's upper 80s. It's a good looking pitch. I liked it a lot, but I'm just a little worried about regression for Manaea. It's just every game it feels like he's throwing fewer and fewer strikes, getting fewer and fewer whiffs. Just Monday, he only had 4 whiffs in the whole game, and all of them were on fastballs. That's not a good sign. Through the course of the season, lowest strikeout rate in his entire career and the highest walk rate in his entire career. So he's still gutting it out and getting the results, but you just see it the third time through the order, did blow the lead, still won the game, but just he seems like more of a 5 and dive, and just every single start, I'm really worried about that inevitable blow up.
I mean, in a perfect world, like we said at the beginning of the year, you're probably going to have some Manaea starts where he goes 2 times through the order, then you piggyback him with a McGill, or you piggyback him with like a Buttó, or maybe even Vassell, or a Dom Hamill, or some of those guys come up at some point. But the idea is like Manaea is never going 8 for this team. It's just not happening.
And there seems like a comfortability with him with like this 5-inning 70-pitch situation, which is where the Giants had him last year.
Which is fine.
And it's where he had the best results of his career.
It's okay.
And
again, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, again, it's not like, I think there's like an obsession with seeking upside when you like sign a player in the free agent market. Be like, here's how we can mold this into being like the cool thing the Mets did. No, the Mets just got a guy who's going to be a guy, and like just use him the way that he will be the most successful. And I think they're mostly doing that.
Sometimes you are just a pitcher. That is fine.
Yeah, and again, I think the Mets their pitching depth is a little strapped right now. Soon, hopefully, it won't be. So I think that's when we could probably see a better version of Manaea.
Definitely. Bullpen, luckily, dogs as always. Diekman, Ottavino, Edwin, only 2 base runners, struck out 3, no walks, 1 hard hit ball. Just so big. And it was cool to see Edwin that he went after the hitters in this game with his fastballs, specifically because we know against the Rays, he threw, 1 or 2?
It was I think 2 or 4 in a 19-pitch outing.
Yeah, so he really wasn't using it at all, but he just completely attacked the Cardinals hitters and shut them down easy.
Yeah, and again, back up to 98 in this one, sitting 96, 98, but still just lacking that life. If anyone's going to be in the ballpark this weekend, Brave Series, I know Mark and I are going to be there Friday for Christian Scott. Hopefully the weather holds. But keep an eye when Edwin's in on the IVB that Citi Field shows in the ballpark, which is, it's really cool they show that. I don't think most teams show that, and Citi Field has been showing that. I like that the Citi Field has kind of leaned into some more advanced stats that are things I like to look at specifically, so I'm happy they catered that to me. But when Edwin was at his best, he was never a guy who got a lead IVB. It was like a 16, 17 kind of guy, but it's been like between 11 and 14 this year. So just keep an eye on that when he's in there, because that's the life on his fastball. That's the rising action. Still good. If he's sitting 98, it doesn't really matter that much, but just something to keep an eye on with Edwin.
Yeah. And anything else from this game you want to talk about real quick?
When we were watching this game, we had like a sick in the head moment that we enjoyed that I wanted to shout out, because I think it's a symptom of a baseball team that's playing well. And the Mets head into the series not playing well. So when this happened in the 3rd inning of this game, it made me excited. Or the 5th inning of this game made me excited.
Ooh, I think I remember what you're talking about now.
Tomas Nido and Brandon Nimmo, also Tomas Nido swinging a hell of a bat right now. He's hitting the shit out of the ball. Yeah. It's unbelievable. But him and Nimmo have singles start off the 5th inning, and then Lars Nootbaar booted the ball in the outfield. Oh, okay, so that was the one lefty in line against Manaea. Nootbaar, I forgot he was hitting 9th. He booted the ball, so it wound up being 2nd and 3rd for Marte and Lindor. And very casually, good baseball. Marte hits a ground ball at second baseman. Lindor hits a sacrifice fly. 2 guys on base to start the inning. We get both runs in. I like a rally. Rallies are great. I love rallies. I want more rallies. But cool that the Mets just like got 2 guys in who were in scoring position with nobody out and took a lead.
I'll make it clear we like baseball rallies here.
Yes.
Baseball rallies.
We like rallies that score runs.
Rallies in baseball games that score runs. I want to be very, very clear. I heard what we said and I went, maybe we should clarify. Just doesn't get taken out of context.
I didn't have that one.
But yeah, this is content brain. But yeah, it's just cool to see that the Mets played relatively a clean baseball game and beat the Cardinals, who they are better than.
Yes, just nice to have.
And now game 2.
Yes.
José Buttó on the mound. Bad start. He fought through it. That's one thing José Buttó will do.
Fight.
The guy's a fighter. He will not
fighter.
lay down and just give up, which is refreshing because we've had pitchers like Steven Matz and McGill at times and David Peterson and others whose body language is, it's very, very obvious when things aren't going well for them. Buttó, you don't know. He still goes out there. He still tries to shove. But there is, I think, a little more concern than we felt 2-3 starts ago, where before we're like, oh, Butto's kind of looking like he's going to be a really, really nice pitcher moving forward. And it's not that I don't feel that, but I think it was a heat check. A little bit back to reality here with José Buttó now.
It is, but there are also 2 sides of that coin where there's the second time he's facing this Cardinals lineup that he struggled with in 3 starts, especially Alec Burleson, which for some reason gives José Buttó fits. That could be a budding rivalry in the major leagues. But the thing that happened with Buttó in this game is that his command was all over the place. If you guys look in that 1st inning, the ball was either down the middle or was not a strike. And he wasn't helped out by his defense. DJ Stewart did drop a fly ball, but it wasn't the easiest play to make. I feel like if Brandon was in left field, he probably makes the play.
Yes, I think so.
And then, but he also had already given up a long home run to Brendan Donovan.
Yes,
so
which that's tough to do.
Yeah, it was I don't know, it was a weird moment, but it felt like the rails could have come off for Buttó, and then he got tough. Brett Beatty started a really big double play for him, I think, in the third inning.
Yep.
And then similar to that Friday night start 2 weeks ago against the Cardinals, he just completely settled in, and he wound up grinding and working through 5 innings. Wins are a fake stat, but he still wound up getting the win. He put his team in position to win the game. 3 walks and 3 strikeouts are a concern, and the most concerning thing is that in this start, he had no feel for either his slider, his sweeper, or his changeup. He hasn't been throwing many sweepers. It's still a new pitch for him, but the slide and the changeup are the out pitches.
What about the cutter? Was he throwing the cutter at all?
The slider is the cutter now.
Okay.
It's the tight slider, and the sweepers become what the slider was. So it's like all just pitch classification stuff on Savant. But 65% sinkers and fastballs, and he was manipulating those well to give himself some variation, especially counts, different batters, lefty righties. But only 3 total whiffs, and then just on those 2 pitches, the slider and the changeup. And it's just, if he can't have one of those pitches working, it's going to be hard for him to do it because the fastball is fine, it's totally okay, but it just ticks down. His velocity goes from 95, 96, 92, 93 as the game goes on. So just he's just toughing it out. He's just dogging it, bulldogging it. And this rotation's going to get crowded soon. Like we said, McGill and Peterson on rehab assignments. We're going to talk about them in the prospect report. Sanga's apparently going to start rehab assignment soon.
Exciting.
And now Christian Scott's here, and that doesn't feel like he's going to go anywhere. So Buttó's going to work for this start, and he's worked before, and he's grinded out, and he's beat the odds before. So it's just something to watch that he couple starts now, 3 out of the 4 starts, he really hasn't had a feel for the off-speed stuff and has had trouble throwing strikes.
Definitely. Keep an eye on it for sure. Now, on the offensive side of things, you mentioned Nimmo getting that rally started. 6 runs in the 5th inning off Miles Michaelis, which is always just phenomenal because fuck the Lizard King. He's got his ERA up to 6.43 now on the season. Mm-hmm. And that gives the Mets the lead, of course, early in the game, which is nice. Love pitching with the lead. Love doing so. Your boy Cole Sulcer came in next.
Yeah.
Gave up a friggin' nuke
monster
to Alec
shot,
Burleson, who just owns...
Kills the Mets.
He's a Met killer.
Yes.
We talked about Tomas Nido in a video that you guys will see later this week being called the Cardinal killer.
Yeah.
Alec Burleson's a Met killer, and it's official.
He really is. But also that inning that we chased Michaelis was great because it was just 7 straight hits. Yeah. It was 2 full games of getting out demons against this guy who was no stuff and doing it. And it started with the bottom of the order. We got to shout out Jeff. Jeff was 3 for 3. He had 3 hits in this game. He started this rally with just a great cue shot, a classic Jeff McNeil knock.
More of that.
Yeah, and then Tomas Nido hit a one-hop bullet to Nolan Arenado at third, where I remember another Mets rally starting with a Nolan Arenado error at third. This was ruled a hit, but Nolan Arenado was an error to me. Jeff McNeil at the 3 hits got his batting average up to 250, which is pretty funny. And the OPS 644, so creeping up, still on his way up there, and just the whole lineup after that started going. Nimmo with the home run, Manaea the hit, Lindor the hit, Pete had the big bases clearing double. This was a game where you felt like a Mets lineup was better than a pitcher they faced, and they got to them, and is what should happen when you have an advantage.
Yes. No, you got to smack around Michaelis. And again, Cole Sulcer gave up that run, but struck out 3.
Yeah.
Struck out 3. And then the bullpen pretty much just shut down up until Ottavino in the 9th inning. Did get into a little bit of trouble, gave up that home run to Nootbaar, which Nootbaar hasn't really hit any balls well this year. Nope. He crushed that one as well. And Ottavino, again, like he got into trouble. He got the walk in there. He wasn't really as sharp again for the second straight outing.
No, he had one in between where he was sharp. He was sharp on Monday. This was the third time in 4 days Ottavino pitched.
But he got through it, and that's a big thing. Like Ottavino getting through, I thought for sure when I saw like Goldschmidt and Arenado and those guys were up, I'm like, this is going to be where they remember how to hit baseballs. I wasn't feeling good.
But their righties against Ottavino is not that bad, and also the fact that we already burned Lopez and Garrett in this game. Edwin Diaz was unavailable, working back-to-back days before. This was out of Ottavino's inning. Nobody was coming in here to save him. And no, it was just good. He just kind of bared down and got gritty and got those guys out. Again, righties with the sweeper, they're going to struggle more, and those guys are just struggling a lot in general. The best fans in baseball. Did you hear the best fans in baseball booing their 2 superstars after, a bad 5 weeks? I can't believe that. Oh, Madrid ties the game.
Wow, good soccer going on.
Oh, we're reviewing it?
Shout out Graham.
I think we're going to the... Oh, no.
VAR?
No, I think it just they put it on the board. Wow, 87th minute.
Wow,
unreal.
Good soccer.
Good match here, and the pitch, the fixture.
Good ball.
But another also shout out for Jorge Lopez, who has been one of the unsung heroes in this bullpen because Edwin Diaz always gonna get the headlines. Reed Garrett has been the revelation. Where Jorge Lopez has been so reliable in the middle innings. I think he's the second or third in the entire league in appearances, which is massive. And there were a couple guys that got on base against Sherrod Foley, walking a hit, and Jorge Lopez came in, fireman, ended the inning, got a strikeout. Also gave a hit himself, but closed it out nice, and then got the game to the 8th where we have Reed Garrett and then Adam Ottavino to close it.
Reed Garrett, .47 ERA still.
Insane.
It's
And
May.
like a 50% strikeout rate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's May.
It's a May, and he's just
Second week of May.
one of the best relievers in baseball.
Yeah.
Reed Garrett for the All-Star team.
And again, got to talk about Pete Alonso. Hit the home run after the big double.
It's Pete.
All he needed was an off day, like Mark said. Also, funny moment. Just ended up catching the stream on the Cardinals broadcast and not SNY just because I couldn't find SNY stream. Shout out not having cable. But Chris Roycroft of the Cardinals made his Major League debut. It looked like 30, 40 family members there screaming their asses off for every single pitch. And then Pete hit a nice moonshot on him, which I was like, all right, welcome to the big leagues, kid.
Welcome to the big leagues, Chris.
Yeah, I love that.
I saw that name. I was like, who?
Yeah.
Who's Chris Roycroft? This Cardinals team's got some problems.
Yeah, they're really bad.
They
And without
are in
Wilson
trouble.
Contreras, I think they're going to tank. And we've talked about JD Martinez not finding his power stroke yet. 2 hits in this game, both hit over 100 miles an hour. So I think it's just the old man getting his legs back.
Yeah, I mean, listen, sooner the better that he could start to hit for some power. But again, the season still is super, super early for JD. I think right now, I'm looking it up as we speak, JD Martinez has 37 at-bats, 12 games played as a New York Met. He's hitting
Nice.
297.
Yeah.
Like, again, batting average, not batting average podcast.
No.
350 on base. We are an on-base podcast.
Big on base podcast. And both games this series, every starter in the Mets lineup had either a base hit or a hard hit ball.
And shout out DJ Stewart.
Shout out DJ Stewart.
Love
Good.
DJ Stewart.
Nice DJ saved my life. That nice double on Monday.
Yes, love DJ. And that's the Cardinal series.
Yeah, 2 games.
Two
Quick
games,
one.
2
Easy
wins.
peasy.
Nice and easy. Smell you in August. St. Louis Cardinals. Who knows if Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, or any of the other guys will even be there. So
Yeah, it's funny that we're going to have to play them after the trade deadline. Who knows what any of these teams look like on August 5th.
could be a gift.
Yeah, could be nice.
Prospect report time.
Woo woo!
Give you guys some updates on some guys, specifically some dudes that maybe aren't really prospects, but they're pitching in the minors.
Yeah, wanted to shout out Tyler McGill and David Peterson just because they have been pitching through the minors, working through rehab assignments, and they're going to be back on this team soon.
Oh, Madrid!
No, he's got another one?
Oh, no, he's offsides.
Oh,
wow.
in extra time. 9 minutes added.
Wow.
This is going to be fun for the prospect report. I'm sure you guys, half the people listening to this are like, we could care so little about fucking
get
soccer.
over it, get over it.
But Tyler McGill is, I'm going to do it again, guys. Why not? You know, he's pitching really well in Syracuse.
Damn it, James.
Mets are the best quadruple A team ever, also from Mets Twitter member, Diana. But he was up to 65 pitches, which is ironically, again, a nice spot for him to sit.
Probably
I
the
wonder
best
if we're
place.
going to do this, but 4 innings, 7 strikeouts, no hits, 1 walk. I mean, I don't know. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that at all. And he's back to old McGill from 2021, where it's just 50% fastballs, 25% sliders. He threw one of the splitters that we saw in spring training. That was like the big pitch everyone was talking about. There was a material change, though. My guy MJD Analysis pointed this out. Mikey, McGill, higher release point now.
Ooh,
So
use
he's
that height.
Yes, he's using that height. He's getting a higher release point. That's having him get more vertical action on his fastball, and it ticked up the stuff plus numbers in every single one of his pitches. So that's an adjustment. It was about 6 inches higher than he was releasing in the spring. So maybe it's something material, or maybe he was just pitching with a little injury during the spring. Because the ERA, the results were good, but the stuff was bad. So maybe he just kept pitching through this, trying to get that roster spot. But maybe he feels a little healthier. The higher release point, more life. Not that bad.
Yeah, David Peterson a little further away. He's thrown 5 innings at PSL, 9 Ks, a hit and a walk, but also the results don't matter because this is just about getting his arm healthy, getting back into pitching motion. He was called a goal, by the way.
Wow.
Real Madrid. Sorry, Bayern. You got 8 minutes now. But David Peterson, just going to be interesting to see what happens with these guys when they get back, too, because Joey Lucchese's pitching really well, too.
Super well.
And again, this would be such a fucking awesome problem to have.
I know. All these guys are healthy and pitching well.
The Mets have 10 major league pitchers. What do we do?
Joey Fuego, our boy, Lucchese, King. 6 starts in AAA this year. He's not allowed more than 2 earned runs in any.
I think he might have gotten married or engaged as well. Very recently.
I saw those. Yeah, I saw
so
those.
Congratulations, Joey.
Also, shout out Joey, big Drake guy dealing with the beef.
Yeah.
Shout out Joey.
I wonder he's got to think Drake's winning, right?
Yeah, of course. But
Who do you think's winning?
I thought Kendrick won.
You think Kendrick won?
Yeah.
Drake made the better music. Kendrick came at him harder.
I think he came out harder. I think Not Like Us was the best song.
Really?
I thought it was the best song of the whole thing.
Well, the best song of the whole thing is BBL Drizzy.
Yeah, but
That
which also counts.
song's gas.
That counts. BPL Drizzy. That counts. I know. I'm a Kendrick guy though, so I thought Kendrick won. I thought
fair.
Not Like Us, just such a banger. And also, it's so funny that he broke like all of Drake's like streaming records.
Oh, yeah.
He got his Billboard 100 top
Number
one
one.
with Euphoria, and then the Not Like Us, the number one hip hop stream song in a single day ever, beating Drake's record. So it's funny that Kendrick almost weirdly beat Drake at his own game
Yeah, almost did.
in a funny way, where
People
Drake probably did more dissy stuff that was better.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right, back to the prospect report now.
Yeah.
FCL Mets. Give me a little something on them, James. I know you got some guys down here.
Yeah, the FCL Mets opened up over the last week, and the Mets complex team is completely electric, guys. These are the prospects. This is like the real first generation of the Cohen prospects that are the guys that we signed internationally with Cohen that we've scouted. Now we've been developing them as like since the Mets have really beefed up what they're doing in Dominican Republic. I've heard that the complex down there has suddenly become one of the nicest in all of baseball. I've heard that from people down there who've seen it. And now these guys last year ran through the DSL, and now the first few games in the FCL were crushing as well. We beat the Nationals 15-0 on Tuesday. Nice FCL result. Jeremy Rodriguez, our boy, 3 hits, a double on RBI. Simon Juan, someone we talked about when he signed internationally 2 years ago and then in spring training. 3 for 5 with a home run, 5 RBIs, and a stolen base. He had another game Wednesday of 5 RBIs. So 10 RBIs for Simon Juan in two games.
Wow, today?
Yes.
Wow.
And then 6 more total bases. All 3 of his batted balls in the game Wednesday were over 104 miles an hour. And remember, we talked about Simon Juan in spring training. When he was facing AA, AAA pitchers, he had 2 batted balls over 104 miles an hour. He's still 18 years old. He's over 6 feet tall. He weighs over 200 pounds. This looks like this could be like a premier corner hitting outfielder. I'm shouting my guy Chris Clegg, one of the hardest working guys in baseball media right now. Amazing follow if you guys want to keep up with every single prospect in the system. He's been highlighting the Mets a lot because their FCL team is so goddamn fun. Got some good stuff on them. We were talking today about, he's like, rank the Mets FCL prospects. And I was like, all right, I got you. But we're talking about here for you guys. Also, Willie Fanias signed a little older, signed in the same international class as Simon Juan in that 15-0 game against Nationals. 2 for 4 with a triple and 3 RBIs. These guys are just crushing.
Yep. And then Brandy De Olio, which I think if this was Italian, that would mean brandy of oil. What do you got for me on Brandy De Olio?
Brandy Olio, we haven't talked about him on the show, but just reading through Baseball America's offseason report, they highlighted Brandy as a sleeper prospect to watch in the Mets system. Crazy bat-to-ball skills, led all of the Mets players in Dominican League last year, the DSL, in batting average, runs scored, and they had just signed him the previous January, I think as a 17-year-old, so a bit older of an international signing, but threw him in the complex right away. He's 6'1" and listed as 160 right now online, so that's a string bean. It's a skinny kid, but Baseball America, again, lauded his bat-to-ball skills and thinks he has the instincts and the arm strength to stay a shortstop. Been crushing also with all these Mets hitters, just running through the FCL so far. Low strikeout guy, low walk guy, looking to see him come into power and look to see him stick a shortstop. But this is a group here. I think we also have who was a prospect last year? I think AJ Ewing's on this complex team too. I think Boston Barrow's on this complex team too.
I can look it up
a couple draft picks from last year who are on the younger side, high school kids. But
yep, Ewing is.
There's a collection of these Mets young, high potential prospects, crazy physical tools that are more exciting than the Mets have had this level of prospect in a very long time.
Yes. No, I mean, they've got some players down there for sure. One of them being Joel Diaz, coming back from Tommy John surgery, made an appearance. And granted, it's only 2 innings. That's kind of what happens down there. You're not going to see guys go deep into games. They've got 15 different pitchers they need to make sure pitch throughout the week. He went 2 innings, 2 strikeouts. Looked pretty good.
Yes, and I think it's interesting that he threw the first 2 innings for the Complex Mets this year. Their first game, he was the first guy in the mound coming off Tommy John surgery. He's someone that us, and we know the Mets organization, was excited about before he had surgery a few years ago. Shout out to 2021 Messed Up listeners. That's where we're shouting out Joel. He's got an unbelievable slider. There's a couple of videos of it online. He makes 18-year-olds' knees buckle down the complex.
Just remembered something, too. You know how we do this? We do the snap?
Yeah.
Drives my dad crazy. He hates
really?
it.
Why?
He's like just so hipster bullshit. He hates it.
He hates snaps are hipster now?
He knows why we do it. It's because like our other hand's busy, we can't clap.
Yeah.
But he's like, this drives me nuts. So just a couple of them for him right
that's
now.
hilarious. Shout out Mr. Luino. I'll stop as respect to him.
We can keep doing it. It's good. I like it. Jeffrey Rosa.
Yeah, another one.
Jeffrey Rosa. Kid's a unit, by the way.
Monster.
Saw him. I legitimately had not heard of him. I don't know how he went under the radar. Actually, I know why. We weren't allowed to talk about prospects.
Yes, that's why.
We weren't allowed to talk about prospects on a prior podcast. But now that we can, Jeffrey Rosa. Have you guys heard about this kid? Because last year in the DSL, Jeffrey Rosa hit 15 home runs and 13 doubles in 44 games. I mean, what the fuck?
Those were the most home runs by any player in the DSL last year. by 3. Next closest was 12, and only 4 players in the entire Dominican Summer League even had double-digit home runs. So Jeffrey Rosa, I think Ernest Dove, Mets prospect guy on Twitter, I think compared him to both Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey as a bit.
Look at this dude's legs.
That's a load. I think he's only 19
legs.
still, too.
Those are tree trunks.
Those are monster
It's
legs.
like big piece of ham.
nice hunks. But he's probably one of the Mets' most underrated hitting prospects. He played 1 game in the FCL this year, and they were like, all right, don't worry about it. And they sent him straight to St. Lucie. So that's a name to watch. He's someone who's rising fast, joining that awesome St. Lucie lineup with Nick Morabito and Jesus Baez. It's just, these Mets minor league teams are becoming wagons, guys. And this is the beauty of like what Steve Cohen owning the team is. It's fun to sign free agents, and we've done that in a pretty cool way the last few years, but
That's fun immediately.
yeah, the joy of this is going to be how much money he's dumping into our player development, into our scouting, and then where that's going to turn into for these players down the line.
We're going to get some exit velos then on Jeffrey Rosa too,
We
right?
are. Starting this week, we're going to get exit visa. So next prospect report, we're going to do that. Also, let us know if you guys like us kind of changing the prospect report. We can't talk about Blade Tidwell, Jonah Tong, Nolan
single
McLean,
time.
Bransford every single week. So we're going to try and like highlight some other guys, other levels. That's why this week we're really focusing on the FCL because they just started and they're hitting the piss out of the ball. But going to just try and change these up because we're doing them every week now.
Some guy I've never heard of. You have written down.
Yeah, you've never heard of Joander Suarez?
Have I heard of him?
He was amazing last year.
Really?
I think he threw a no-hitter last year.
Did he?
And he just threw a perfect game this year.
We weren't allowed to talk about it, so it was
Yeah.
out of my head.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about prospects last year, but another guy on the Binghamton pitching staff who's just making a name for himself, Joander Suarez. After he got called up last year from Brooklyn to Binghamton, I think he had something like 25 consecutive scoreless innings.
I do remember him.
Yes.
Yes.
And he was in their playoff rotation as they went to the Eastern League Championship.
Big
but
boy.
last Thursday, 6 1/3 perfect innings with 7 strikeouts for Binghamton. And people are like, why did they take him out with a perfect game? That was to end the game. He came in this game in the second inning and ran 6 1/3 perfect innings. He mad bummed the other team. And they kind of celebrated at the end of the game like he just threw a perfect game. The catcher ran up to him, they gave him hugs. They were like celebrating on the mound. It was a dope video. 19 up and 19 down. Again, pure mad bum style. Dating back to last season when he got called up to Binghamton AA. And that's, people say, is the biggest jump in the minor leagues from high A to AA.
Besides AAA to majors.
Besides AAA majors, of course. Yeah, within the minor leagues, I'm saying. 1.58 ERA in 45 2/3 innings.
It's pretty good.
That's a nasty sample. And he's like a 3/4 arm slot guy who can get up to 95, 96 mile an hour. We usually sit 93, 94. I think he's actually getting up 97 now after
Ooh.
going to the pitching lab.
Okay.
And a really gross 2-plane slider. Just like a good traditional like whop on him.
Wander Suarez, you heard about him here first. Some other cool stuff, housekeeping, Luis Angel Acuna, 7 balls in play, over 105. That's where you get excited about him. He has the ability to hit the ball hard despite being smaller than I think me and James,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy. He's someone that, again, I'm not losing hope on a guy ever. Like, there's no reason to.
I think he's 21 AAA still.
Yeah, like he's still way ahead
He's
of
playing
where,
24, 25-year-olds.
where everybody's supposed to be. Just, again, we want to keep everybody calm about Luis Angel Acuna. The worst thing that happened to this guy was that he was born with that last name.
Yeah.
He could still be a very, very good Major League Baseball player.
Totally.
He will not be his brother.
No, there's not many players who are ever going to come up
Ever.
and the rest of our lives are going to be his
Who
brother.
played in Major League Baseball history. He did something that no one has ever done.
Ever. 40-70.
40-60.
Yeah,
40-50.
40-60, yeah. and I think he's like 4 or 5 inches taller than him.
Yeah.
It's different. It's just very different. So just people are freaking out about Luis Angel Acuna. I know Will Salmon came out with his own prospect report, like his first monthly prospect report on Wednesday on The Athletic. I had a couple friends text me about how bad Luis Angel Acuna is. I had the words bust thrown at me. I had the puke emoji thrown at me.
Nice.
Shame on all of you guys. Give him a second.
Shame.
It's he's just not Ronald Acuna, but that's also okay. Like I think he's still going to be a fine player. My comp I keep coming back to is souped up Whit Merrifield. Another comp I've heard.
Yeah, good baseball player.
Yeah, I think someone in my mentions. I don't know if it was my guy Rob or my guy Jack who I DM with, but compare him to Starling Marte, which I think was kind of funny, where it's just crazy bats a ball, lots of ground balls, and
Fast.
like fast, like can play corner outfield really well. Like I think, but he can also play second base pretty well. So I think there's still a ceiling on Luis Angel Acuna where he's a really valuable Major League Baseball player, but just might not be the exact way or the exact timing that we might have wanted it to happen. Because this team could really use a utility infielder right now.
So badly.
Be nice if it was him, but he's not ready for it right now, and
Not
that's
ready yet.
totally okay.
Other guys around the farm system that have gotten some new highs in terms of exit velo. Ronald Hernandez, who you remember came over in the David Robertson trade, 109.6.
Huge.
That's a hard hit
I think
ball.
he's 19-year-old too.
Jesus Baez technically hit it harder in the breakout game, but in terms of in-season, 109.1 is the new highest on him.
Yeah.
He's been making incredible contact, not chasing. He's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, another shout out for Chris Clegg. He's Jesus Baez, one of 7 hitters in the Florida State League, which is where Port St. Lucie plays low A, to have a Z contact rate, which is how much you're making contact on pitches in the zone, over 80%, while chasing less than 25% of the time. And I think it was a list of some guys who I'd never heard of, but also Aiden Miller, and I want to say another first-round pick that I can't remember. But Aiden Miller's already played college baseball, and Jesus Baez.
Aiden Miller's not college.
Oh, he's the high schooler.
He's a high school guy.
Oh.
He's the one
I'm
that...
thinking the TCU guy.
Braden Taylor.
Yes. Oh, that's a stupid mix-up by me. Similar names, though.
Similar names, similar positions, both
Third
white
base.
guys who play third.
Yeah, okay. Hand up on me. Messed that one up. But Jesus Baez definitely become my prospect crush. And then one more shout-out for the prospect report, Joe DeMeo, friend of the program, had a great article about Jonah Tong on SNY. Talked about a lot of quotes from coaches about how Tong is just such a sponge, how he came to the system ready to learn, ready to try new things. That new slider cutter he's throwing is a new thing he's been working on, and how the fact that a lot of comparisons in the thing, talking about the Mets pitching lab, basically saying that it's kind of just like Driveline. They have their own little Driveline, which makes sense with Jaegers coming from Driveline, being one of the architects of Driveline, makes sense. And also the fact that Tong, and this was something we shouted out for our guy Isaac Grofman, who did that, who does a lot of Mets pitching threads. Good follow on Twitter for you guys.
That's a person and not a pitcher.
Yeah. Tong does this crazy thing when he pitches where they say he tilts his trunk. So he gets like crazy rotation on his body when he throws. So that's how he gets that super high over the top release.
It's all in the hips.
But something else he does with that, they said that when they're tracking some of his pitches, it sometimes looks like a left-hander releasing fastballs. That's how over the top he is.
Whoa.
Like he's perfectly over the top, and he's tilting his body that much. It's really crazy.
Interesting.
Again, good article by Joe. A lot of good nuggets in there. Good stuff to talk about. But yeah, really, really, really excited every single week going through these Mets prospects and how good they're doing.
And that is the prospect report for you guys. You are now going to see a little conversation between us and Foolish Baseball about the Atlanta Braves series preview. So, James, send it that way.
Foolish.
All right, so this time we've got a little bit of a different series preview for you guys. We're actually bringing on a guest, and as you can see if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, we've got Foolish Baseball, a.k.a. Bailey. Thank you for joining us. What's going on?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to go ahead and preview this series with y'all.
Yeah, so we've got the Mets going up against the Braves this weekend. Big series, Christian Scott debut. Lots of good stuff going on, and of course, Mets-Braves. We don't seemingly like each other, especially on the fan side of things. How are you feeling about this Mets-Braves series, first off?
I think it's an interesting time for both of these teams to be facing off. I mean, the Mets took 2 out of 3 from them in Atlanta last time, including a 16-4 beatdown in what was the final match of that series. And the Braves are coming into this series. Over the last 3 weeks or so, they have not been a good offense, which is uncharacteristic. I was looking at the numbers. Over the last 3 weeks, they're 25th in WOBA and 24th in runs scored. And this was a record-breaking offense last year. So I think it's just kind of I would describe it as like a vibe check series for both these teams. The Mets are, 500. They've underachieved in some areas, maybe overachieved in some others. And these teams are just still trying to feel each other out, figure out how good they are, and how strong this division in general is in 2024.
Keeping tabs on this team day in and day out, is there even any concern at all with the early struggles, especially power-wise from Olsen and Acuna, or is it just kind of just let this thing ride out until the summer and then see what happens?
Yeah, no, I mean that's the fan perspective for me. I'm a Braves fan. I probably should have started with that, but yeah, I mean I don't. There's no alarm bells going off whatsoever. Like, we know how good this team is, and the fact of the matter is, they still have a really good record, despite the fact that a lot of their core is hitting a step or two below what they really should be.
So, Bailey, how are you feeling about Christian Scott? What's a Braves fan perspective on this guy? Because over here, we absolutely love him.
Yeah, he's been fun to watch. He had a good 2023. In spring training, I feel like that was when he was really showing out, and he got on a lot of people's radars, and he's continued to do that, and he's up here in the majors. What I'm curious with him is just looking at his repertoire. He's a big kind of fastball sweeper guy, and I guess he would have to prove that he can get the job done against lefties, because that's a repertoire that could definitely struggle against opposite-handed hitting. So, the guys to watch in this series are going to be, how does he do against Albies, or how does he do against Olsen, or how does he do against Kelnick, a former Mets draftee himself. So I'm interested to see how Christian Scott does versus the left-handed batters in particular.
Yeah, and I think the Rays lineup that he debuted against last Saturday, I believe there was only 1 or 2 lefties in the lineup. So he was able to just fill the strike zone with fastballs, and not as good of dead red fastball hitters in that Rays lineup as you're going to see in the Braves lineup, but he does have a split change and he has a gyro slider, which are pitches that he's had longer than sweeper. He only started throwing the sweeper in game within the last couple of months. So like that's the new pitch, even though it's already become the best. But when Mark introed this series, he said, big series this weekend, Mets and Braves. As a Braves fan, do you even care about the Mets half the time? Like, do you even care about playing a series against the Mets? Or is it really just the Mets being like, oh, we hate you, and you guys, like, we don't even think about baseball until the middle of the summer?
Yeah, I mean, if I think back to my childhood, I mean, I would definitely say the Mets were my most loathed team. But I mean, if you look at it objectively right now, I guess the answer is no, James. Like, we're concerned about the full 162. We know that this is, either the best or second best roster in the National League, and I think right now we see the Mets as Lil Bro. But if the Mets come out and punch them in the mouth this series, and the Braves bats continue to struggle, maybe that attitude changes.
Well, I was telling James before this when we were looking up just like numbers, and because the Braves offense, like you said, has been like weirdly, I don't want to say bad, but weirdly average, I guess is probably the good way to put it. Like Acuna's struggling, Olsen's struggling, even Michael Harris and Austin Riley have just been okay. We're just going to get absolutely destroyed. It feels like this is going to be the series that either like we learn a lot about this Mets team, or we go, oh yeah, the Braves we just got them hot now for the May and June coming up.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, and I really do think it's what we really are trying to feel out right now is the NL East one of the best divisions, period? Because as bad as the Marlins are, you've got the Mets and the Nationals playing 500 ball. I mean, I think the Nationals currently occupy a wild card spot,
Yeah.
which is crazy to think about. And then the Phillies the Phillies are 3 games ahead of the Braves in the division, so they are off to a fantastic start as well.
I wanted to ask you about the Phillies. Is there any thought? I know the Phillies, Jay Kuda had the tweet last week where Philly fans went ballistic and jumped down his throat that they haven't played the team above 500 in basically, I think, 5 full weeks now. But is there any concern that they actually could contend for this division, especially with the playoff series you guys had the last few years? You just think that your roster is better and you'll wind up winning out?
Yeah, it's tough. The thing I always tell myself is that, and it doesn't feel this way, but a win in April or May still counts the same in the standings as it does in September. And so you've seen, teams get off to a bad starts. Not that Braves are off to a bad start, but if you fall behind, 3, 4, 5 games in the division, it becomes hard to come back, even if it's early in the season. I think the Braves, from their perspective, are not too worried about it. And myself as a fan, I'm not too worried about it right now. That's mostly because throughout this stretch where the Braves have won, I think it's 6 division titles in a row, they have not led every day. They've trailed a lot of those times, especially early on in the season, turned it on in May and June, as you said. So I don't think that there's going to be too much alarm bells going off unless, the Phillies start to really build a gap going into, say, the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, God, I hate the Braves so much. Six in a row right now. Would you guys win like 16 in a row? Basically, to start our childhood, which was an easy way for me to learn to hate the Braves. And there's a lot of guys that I hate on this team. One of them I don't hate because I have too much respect for him, and he keeps doing it even at the age of 40. Charlie Morton. How does this guy continue to just be one of the most consistent top 30, 40 pitchers in the league every single year?
I'm so amused by him because he's been trying to retire for 4 years now, but he still keeps being excellent. I think he gets upset every time he gets on the mound, and he's like, I'm still nasty. My curveball is still nasty after all these years. I just want to go home, but no, I have to stay here, and people are going to pay me lots of money to pitch. But yeah, he's so fun to watch, so consistent. I mean, and they've had, the Strider injury with, Fried missing half the year last year. He's just kind of been Mr. Consistent for them for the last 4 years. And you can just, he's going to take the bump. He's probably going to give you a quality start. He's Charlie Morton.
Another guy, older pitcher on the Braves, who's really, I think, changed their bottom line this year and probably how they're looking for the rest of the season is Chris Sale. What are your early impressions on Sale? Because from this perspective, he looks like every bit the pitcher he was at the top of his game.
Not surprised. I mean, even with Boston last year, he threw 100 innings, which is not nothing. So it's not insane that he could ramp that up to 160, 170, maybe 180 this year. He's been pitching deep into some of his starts. I think he went 7 last outing. And I'm really not surprised because I think it was always just a health thing. Like when he's been pitching, he's still looked really good. So it's not surprising to see him look really good. And I think even Braves fans are spoiled by having Morton looking great at 40. By comparison, Sale looks like a spring chicken.
Yeah, I mean, Sale's been just shockingly good. I guess it's not shockingly good because whenever he is
So
healthy,
good.
he is good, and he's doing it again, which is just even more frustrating. Do the Braves fans know you guys have like voodoo magic that anybody you touch just turns to gold, seemingly?
They have to know at this point, right? I think, even when you've had players that have struggled that have turned into some of the top players on the team, like Marcell Ozuna, there was a time where Braves fans were calling for him to be DFA'd, and I was probably one of them. He was struggling so bad, particularly at the beginning of last year, 2023. And since then, he's been basically their best hitter, apart from maybe Acuna. So it's pretty unbelievable what he's doing.
He's been like legitimately one of the best hitters in baseball for going on 12 months now. It's kind of ridiculous. And maybe he should have been DFA'd. Maybe he shouldn't be playing baseball anymore. But no matter what he's doing, like he's dominating every day in this lineup. Another guy who just seemed like came out of nowhere this year. You guys changed his role, Reynaldo Lopez. I think the Mets are gonna miss him in this series, but he's been a pure revelation coming in, especially with Alonso Strider, like starting every fifth day and looking amazing doing it.
Yeah, the new theory that I'm seeing bouncing around with regards to pitcher injuries and workload is, one thing people have cited a lot is that UCL, that dreaded UCL develops fully around the age of 26, 27, 28, which is why we're seeing so many problems even at the youth level or the high school level, the college level. That's really not setting these pitchers up for success. And so I think there is some curiosity around the league if whether converting a reliever who's throwing, 60, 70 innings per year, albeit, with more effort, to a starter is viable once they start to reach those ages because, Seth Lugo, former Met, has successfully made that transition. Look at what Jordan Hicks is doing this year. So I expect we may see more of this in the future.
One of those guys who definitely won't be doing it. Probably one of my least favorite Braves right now, simply for the fact that he also won't die. Jesse Chavez. I mean, are you kidding me? 13 innings, 1.35. I know the peripherals tell you he's maybe getting a little bit lucky, but he's just the worst. And I don't understand how he keeps doing it. He's going to throw something slow on the outside corner, yet he gets away with it. How does he keep doing
I feel like he's sandbagging whenever he gets in another uniform. Like he's just thinking, okay, how can I play badly so I can get DFA'd and end up back on the Braves where I belong? But yeah, I think what's key for Jesse in this team is that they feel comfortable using him in any situation. If they want to use him as an opener, he can do that. They want to use him in mop up duty when they're down by 10, he can do that. They want to use him in a higher leverage late spot against a righty, they can do that. So I think that's sort of the joy of having Jesse around, is that he's such a professional. He can just handle any situation for them.
Who's a player in the Braves that Mets fans might not know or might not know well enough that should get some spotlight before this series?
Orlando Arcia, I guess. I mean, it's tough to answer for any Brave, but Orlando Arcia is, was an all-star for them last year, surprisingly, and he continues to be very competent as an everyday shortstop for them. He's like a league average player overall, I would say, which is just a huge boom for them. I mean, going back, let's say 13, 14 months ago, Vaughn Grissom was tapped as the heir apparent to Dansby Swanson at the shortstop position, and Orlando Arcia said, "No, that's going to be me somehow." So I'm excited about Orlando Arcia, and then they will see I mean, I'm sure Mets fans are familiar. He's been on the Braves a lot, in the National League a lot, but they will see Adam Duvall presumably against Manaea, the lefty, and so he'll be one to keep an eye on as well.
Last question we'll ask you here because we want to keep you short on the preview. Jared Kelenic, how's he been for you guys? I know the numbers are kind of okay-ish. Are you still optimistic about what Kelenic is doing, or you're just happy with him in the platoon?
I'm pessimistic, actually. I think his ultimate Achilles heel that he hasn't really proven that he can fix yet is that he can't really hit a breaking ball. Even a breaking ball in the zone, there's just so much swing and miss there for him. He did hit his first home run of the season,
Yeah, thank God.
just last night, and it was his first in a streak of, I think, 200 plus major league at bats without a
Wow.
home run. But yeah, I think compared to maybe the Braves organization and Braves fans, I'm definitely very low on him. My expectations are low. I would be happy if he was better than what Eddie Rosario was for them last year, which was like a league average hitter, like a one WAR corner outfielder. But I mean, I think the Braves have even adjusted their expectations some because he had such a bad spring training for them that in the middle of it, after Anthopoulos said, post trade, he was like, yeah, we're going to make Kelenic an everyday player. they kind of walked that back by signing Duvall and turning it into a platoon out there and left. So I think they kind of know he's definitely a work in progress, but I would say I'm definitely lower and more pessimistic on him than the average Braves fan or maybe even the average Braves front office employee.
Yeah, seeing him hit that first home run, I took a deep breath. I was like, thank God his first home run for the Braves isn't going to come against the Mets. That all I could see
At
was
Citi Field.
this weekend, a big home run at Citi Field. Big moment. He technically still has never played at Citi Field, so it'll be interesting to see the reception he gets as well.
That's true because he skipped the Mariners series a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, he's scared.
I would love to see him versus Edwin Diaz. Just bring it full circle.
Oh man, that would be a moment.
Oh my God, that would be really cool. And I just don't want to see him hit Christian Scott because please just keep him safe. Also, how does Jared Kelenic have a 430 BABIP, a 33% strikeout rate? That's 280 average. That's ridiculous numbers right there. Everything he's putting in play. Is he hitting the ball especially hard? Or is it just getting very lucky?
No, it's just, I mean, he's getting that sweet spot. It's a lot of, bloop it between the infield and the outfield. And, but yeah, I mean, earlier in the season, I think he was running like a 500 BABIP through the first few weeks of the season. So his slash line looked pretty incredible there for a while. It's kind of fallen back down to normal.
All right, so prediction: Braves, Mets. Who's win the series? Give us something.
The Braves will win this series. I think they'll take 2 out of 3. I think they'll rough up Christian Scott. I think they'll rough up Manaea, but I could see Severino winning his start. He looks pretty legit so far.
All right, we like to hear it. I mean, listen, we think the Mets are going to win, hopefully. Fingers crossed we can take a second series from the Braves. Bailey, thank you so much for coming on, helping us with this Braves preview. Go ahead, let everybody know where they can find you, and we'll sign off there.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, YouTube Foolish Baseball, or my secondary channel, Foolish Bailey, where I'm playing a little out-of-the-park baseball. If you want to see me rebuild the Oakland A's, check out Foolish Bailey.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, man, and we'll catch you maybe for a Braves game up here or down there one time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, that is it for this episode of the Mets'd Podcast. Make sure you're following us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast on YouTube so you can see the video version of this. Again, the boys are here in person. We're putting some content out there. We have some special YouTube-only content coming out later this week, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on that. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, whatever it is, drop us a rating, drop us a review. It really does help out. We have some new reviews to read.
Oh, yeah, I think we had 2.
We have at least 2, could be more. Also, I think Mets'd Up, the second one, just got taken off of. Oh, no, it didn't. Dang it. I thought it got taken off of.
I think that's really screwing up our rankings.
I think it really does, too.
I know.
I don't know why, but I think it does. So we've got a few. We read Dougie. I remember reading Dougie, right?
Yeah, we read Dougie. I think we might have read someone after Dougie.
Did we read Zach Gonzalez?
We read Zach Gonzalez.
Okay,
I read Zach Gonzalez.
So we've got Baz Alabama, who gave us 4 stars. Just good.
Wait,
4
really?
4 stars, good. And you know what?
I respect.
I respect that. That makes me want to work harder to earn that 5th star. Love hearing the analysis. Both y'all both and Mark. That's tough to read. Definitely from Alabama. You need to do more reaction videos on YouTube. I usually listen to y'all while I'm working at my local grocery store as a stalker in Alabama. Baz, appreciate you.
Baz.
We'll earn that 5th star from you.
We're gonna work harder.
Then we've also got one from Josh Hart, and I'm hoping this is the basketball player.
No, it's Josh Hart saved my life.
Oh, okay. So
same.
You know what? He's keeping me sane right now. Let's go Knicks, 5 stars. Been a huge Knicks/NBA fan, but also a Mets fan. So I'm locked in from 7 to 10 p.m. all nights watching NBA games, so I miss much of the Mets. I watch the recap of this podcast. It's great because it goes into more depth than a regular recap on MLB's YouTube. The prospect reports are great and informative. Keep doing them, please. Well, Josh, we did one for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you did. Thank you for the 5 stars.
Yep, and I got one more review here from Hey Apolloco. Apolpoco?
I don't know how to say that one.
I don't know. You know you are. Best Baseball Podcast. Shout out you. I love that. Longtime listener here. Always love the honesty on the podcast and the well-informed takes. Keep up the good work. LGM.
Thank you.
So again, guys, if you guys leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, we will always read it out as long as there's no hate speech involved. And you guys can ask us questions on there if you guys want to know anything about us, about the Mets, about the show, about our lives. Like, we're down to answer anything. You guys can roast us. We did that last year once. It was pretty funny. We'd be happy to read some roasts of us. And we're approaching, I think we're between Spotify and Apple. We're about 800 reviews. And I'll just say the mark out loud now. I think when we get to 1,000 combined reviews, we're going to think of something cool to do.
Okay.
I'm just saying that. I'm just putting it in the world right now.
Loud.
Once we get to 1,000, we're going to do something cool for you guys.
Yeah, so keep dropping us reviews. Keep dropping us ratings. We appreciate it. Follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
At Giraffe Nick Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. And we'll catch you after this next series against the Braves. Let's go Mets. Let's go Knicks. Let's go Rangers.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Christian Scott.